Hello, my name is Damon Brown. I'm the CEO and co-founder of uPhoria, and welcome to our weekly webinar. I appreciate your time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a short presentation about what uPhoria is and how it can help your practice, as well as show you the system itself and how it works. Should take about, like I said, about 30 minutes. And you have a Q&A section in the bottom of your screen that if you have a question throughout the presentation, feel free to ask that. Right now, we're presenting a brand new whitening experience, something that hasn't been done in the professional setting before, utilizing a very unique technology. uPhoria, as its name implies, it's a feeling or state of intense excitement and happiness, and that's what the patients that utilize, experience uPhoria in the practice, that's what they feel. They're happier patients that come back in for recall appointments. So the development team is myself and Dave Wuchinich, and Wooch, as his nickname is, he was the past director of ultrasonic research at Cavitron. He has over 40 years of product development experience within the ultrasonic in the dental devices and in medical devices. Myself, I founded Denovations about 17 years ago. My primary focus has been on the chemistry side, and I've developed products for Johnson & Johnson and Walgreens. In uPhoria, we launched as a pilot mid last year. We had it in development for about the last 6 years, and we're in about 220 practices today. And we just started selling through Henry Schein. So if you have a Henry Schein rep, certainly ask them. And we have field reps throughout the country that can also set up and do a demo in certain areas. This is my favorite slide. 80% of your patients want a brighter smile, yet only 4% are opting for an in-office or take-home product, which leaves the whole reason why we developed uPhoria is because we want to deliver the one service patients truly want. The number one desired treatment is teeth whitening. They want them whiter and straighter, and uPhoria answers the whiter side of it. To where if you're doing hygiene, when you're doing hygiene, you may see 8 to 10 patients a day. 8 of those are pretty good candidates for whitening, to where you should be able to do 2 or 3 whitening patients a day. uPhoria is not designed as a, doing it 3 a month or anything like that. uPhoria is a gateway option for whitening for your patients, to where if you still offer other in-office or take-home products, certainly do that. You're doing a few a month, and the charge is a little bit more. But this will allow patients into the whitening service that might not normally elect. The big question is, why aren't more procedures done in office or take home? Pretty easy. Time. Typical in-office procedures, you have to do soft tissue isolation, which takes about 15 minutes. And also the procedure itself could be 20 minutes to an hour and a half. Cost to the doctor. Some kits are, about $100 to the doctor, and the patient pays $200 to $500 in pain. uPhoria is a brand new whitening experience, to where brighter teeth in only 4 minutes, 0 tooth sensitivity, and it's 100% enamel safe. And best of all, for your assistants and hygienists, that's who performs this, and it doesn't require any doctor time. So no soft tissue isolation is needed. And I'll get through why that is, because of the formulation and how we're activating the chemistry. uPhoria is a complete whitening solution. You have the option to do the in-office, to where you get immediate gratification in under 8 minutes of chair time. Total treatment time is about 4 minutes. Plus, you have an option for the patient that's very motivated after they just had their 2 to 6 shades whiter in the office, to also do a take-home product for the next 3 days. I have found through the consumer marketplace that consumers or patients are only going to be compliant with a whitening product for 3 days. So we developed our at-home product based on whitening varnish, to where you utilize it over the course of 3 days. So typical at-home products, patients have it for 7 or 14 days. Well, granted, they're only going to use it for 3 days, and then it's going to sit under their medicine cabinet. So typical practices charge the patient about $100 for the in-office. Your cost is about $35 through Schein, and then the at-home practices charge about $50, and your cost is about $29. uPhoria is the new standard of care. You have the immediate results for in-office, as I mentioned. Plus, if you elect to do the at-home, you will have further results in maintenance. But more importantly, this will help drive your recall patients to come back in. I have a practice in the Midwest that actually utilizes it and promotes uPhoria for his previous recall patients to come back into the practice, and has been very successful. Practice does about 2 uPhoria treatments a day, where then they give the at-home product to them as well. So here it helps, like I said, you don't have to do the at-home product, but I find that it helps complete the circle of driving recall, because they have a product that they got just from their professional setting, and it'll help promote them to come back in for the recall, because the one thing that patients do after they get their teeth cleaned is they look in the rearview mirror and look, see how white their teeth are and how they look. So this will actually deliver on a service to give them whiter teeth, and it will help promote them to come back in for their recall appointment. uPhoria is based on a pretty unique science, and once I stop sharing the screen, I'm actually going to show you this. The process of utilizing ultrasonic sound to produce chemical reactions with an enormous amount of energy will create this fizzing in these micro bubbles, to where it'll help drive the hydrogen peroxide into the tooth, which will help further activate the whitening process. We utilize a 12% hydrogen peroxide solution, but it's not your typical gel that you find with other products. It's kind of, it has a consistency a little bit thicker than water, to where it allows the acoustic energy to travel through it. The whole science behind this, it's unprecedented from a whitening perspective. It's called sonochemistry, where you take the activation, utilizing ultrasound to activate a chemistry called sonochemistry, and that's what we're doing here. Is as you have seen with a Cabotron, you're just utilizing water, but when you put it with a hydrogen peroxide solution into the arch that we're doing, you have a very rapid activation of hydrogen peroxide. This will further illustrate the point of these micro bubbles. This is a cross section of the human hair, to where if you see that you can have 4 of these micro bubbles going across, and what's going to happen is this rapid implosion, or fizzing, if you will, of the hydrogen peroxide molecule, to where it'll really create this environment to rapidly activate the hydrogen peroxide, therefore getting a pretty rapid whitening result. uPhoria is based on clinical evidence. Denovations has been around for 17 years, and working with large consumer product companies, we take great pride in doing a pretty robust R&D side, from clinical evidence and product efficacy and durability. So the R&D team actually ran a life test on this, where they had it running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they turn it on, turn it off, and it pretty much ran for months like that, which would be an equivalent of 8,424 treatments. Which if you did 2 a day for 6 days a week, that'd be 13.5 years. That's a pretty robust machine. We have the regulatory compliance in the US, and it's also designed for European regulations. It's safe. We're utilizing a 12% hydrogen peroxide solution. We also did a test that isn't even a standard in the United States. Believe it or not, there's no standard for enamel hardness and enamel erosion from a clinical testing for whitening products. There is one in Europe, and we adopted that, and the product doesn't have any effect on enamel hardness nor enamel erosion. And you don't have those zingers with the soft tissue, and that's why we don't have to protect the soft tissue by doing soft tissue isolation, because we're utilizing a 12% hydrogen peroxide solution, and we're 4-minute treatment. It's also effective. We did a multi-site clinical evaluation where we had, on average, 4.5 shades whiter. And we typically see patients getting, if they're in the grayer side, those are very difficult teeth to whiten. They might get 1 or 2 shades. People that have good yellow and brown hues tend to get a higher pop, maybe 6 shades. But on average, we got about 4.5 shades. So they get a nice pop in the office, a way to jumpstart their whitening for when they do the at-home. uPhoria will help grow your hygiene. That's what this is. It's a true practice builder. If you do ortho in your practice, I couldn't imagine less than 100% compliance for every ortho case being completed, where that you do an ortho, do a uPhoria treatment. Crown and bridge. Because uPhoria does not have a rebound effect, if you did the 4-minute treatment before you numb the patient up and prep for the crown, you get a few shades, and this 8 minutes of chair time, they're already sitting there anyway, that you could be rest assured that when you take their shade for the crown, now that's what the shade will be. You don't have to worry about this rebound effect. So it's a very useful tool for somebody that's doing a pretty big investment in a crown or bridge. They would certainly want to have a in-office whitening procedure done, as opposed to if you send them home with trays where they then have to come back in a week or two. It's a true practice builder that will help drive your recall patients. And as I mentioned before, it's all about delivering on a core value of patient satisfaction, giving patients one thing they truly desire. It makes great business sense. uPhoria, here's an example. If you did the in-office and the at-home, you combined, typical charge is about, I've seen anywhere from $75 up to $175, but average cost about $150 for the in-office and the at-home. Your cost is $58 through Shine if you buy them together. This could, if you're doing this in your hygiene, you incorporate it truly into the hygiene appointment, you do 1 to 2 a day, that can generate $74,000 in annual incremental revenue in your hygiene department, $47,000 in profit. And there's a system payback within 1 to 2 months. There's very few pieces of equipment that you can have in your dental office that will deliver a true ROI within a month or two if it's incorporated into the practice, where it truly is driving incremental revenue into your practice. Now, some of the feedback we got, I like to use this analogy of, I had a doctor out in the West Coast that had something called Whitening Wednesdays. He sent out a text message to 1,500 of his existing patients, and he said his phone, he had 4 phone lines, 3 people in the front, said his phone was ringing off the hook. He did 75 treatments in 2 months just off of this Whitening Wednesdays concept, and he had a dental assistant that was just doing whitening treatments with the uPhoria system. The bottom line is uPhoria will help your offices and your staff deliver on a core value and a need that the patients want, but it'll help you grow your practice. We're here to support your practice. We offer patient education materials, posters, social media support, but more importantly, we will certify your office. Training is one of the most important things because this is not the whitening that's been around for 20 years. It's a new approach to safely whitening teeth every time they come in for their hygiene appointment. You know, I use the analogy of you can use a 35% hydrogen peroxide solution on the teeth. Chances are the patient will never want to do that treatment again, and it makes it less likely that they come back in. Whereas if you can have something that will promote them coming back in for their recall, and they'll continually whiten teeth over time to back to their natural shade color when they were younger. So part of our training is that we go through and help educate the office on how to use the technique. It's not a very complicated machine, but more importantly, case selection, performing shade selection, and really how do you incorporate a whitening procedure in your office? Because I haven't found too many offices in the United States that do more than a handful of whitening treatments a month, to where you think about every patient that does come in, they certainly would want a whitening treatment. So what I'm going to do now, this is our phone number, 617-737-1199. Our website is uphoriasmile.com. Please give us a call after the webinar, or you can contact your Henry Schein rep. Like I mentioned, we do have sales support people and sales reps around the country. If we do not have one in your area, we can answer questions for you at our home office, and also do a training via webinar as well. But I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm actually going to show you the in-office kit, the take-home kit, and show you the unique technology that you have. So if you pardon me for a second. Okay, this is the actual system itself. It has a 12-foot cable, so it'll fit in any operatory. Also has wheels, locking wheels on it where you can maneuver it around. But I'm going to show you that one thing I do like to show is the technology side of this and how it is not light-based. It is utilizing an ultrasonic base. So I'm going to point it up to the ceiling. I have a little glass of water here. It has a touch screen. It's a pretty easy machine to turn on and off. It also has marketing messaging to where when it's just sitting idle, it'll actually go through like a before and after pic, talk about 4 shades in 4 minutes, to where I recommend that the office actually just keeps this on in the corner of the hygiene department, to where it helps promote an interest from the patient. So we do I take a little water, put on my finger, and I need a contrast. Like that, where you can see it actually effervescing here. So this is actually the ultrasonic mechanism where it's creating this micro bubbles and pulsing. You hear a little hiss to where it's the actual cavitation. Pretty cool. So this, we put a saturated foam pad on this, and I'll show it to you in a second. But the saturated foam pad actually has the pulsing action in it, and that's activating the hydrogen peroxide, and that's going up against the patient's tooth. So the in-office kit has everything the practice needs to do one uPhoria treatment on a patient. And it's a pretty simple procedure. There's three main steps. Step one is we have a preconditioning mouth rinse. This mouth rinse, they'll rinse with half the bottle, and this will kill the bad bacteria that prohibits the release of peroxide, and also raise the pH on the surface of the tooth to where it'll help the hydrogen peroxide work faster. Then we have gauze, Vaseline, and treat retractors, where all we're doing is protecting the lips. We put the Vaseline on the lips, we put the gauze in the upper and lower arches, and then we put the cheek retractors in. And I'll show you the foam pad. So what we do is we have a bolus of hydrogen peroxide solution. You can kind of see it looks like a level in there. So you can see that it's not very viscous, to where that'll allow the acoustic energy to travel through the medical grade foam sponge, to where when we saturate this foam pad, we then apply it onto, I don't have gloves on, so I'm not going to do that. But that's when we apply it onto the actual machine itself, turn it on. Foam pad has little straps on it. You can kind of see them there. Little straps that actually hook on to the ultrasonic mouthpiece. The mouthpiece itself is autoclavable, and it just simply twists on and off, kind of like a light bulb. And it's kind of interesting. You can see the metal arch there, and that's where the acoustic energy is coming through, and the transducer is actually into the silver part here. But we screw it on. The system itself comes with 2 autoclavable mouthpieces. It has Shine is running a promotion now to where you get 24 in-office kits and 24 at-home kits. You know, the marketing shade guide with it, the goggles. We do goggles not because of light, but you know, if you had hydrogen peroxide soaked pad and somehow in the 1 in a million chance you had this sitting over a patient's eyes, it helps further prevent that. But it's simply the pad will slip on here, and we have it sit up against the patient's teeth. We press the button, starts for 2 minutes. During that next 2 minutes, we have 2 hydrogen peroxide syringes, and we have 2 foam pads. So we actually do 2 2-minute treatments. In the total chair time, depending how efficient your assistant or hygienist is on putting in gauze, which I would assume pretty efficient, you could do it in under 8 minutes of chair time. Takes me about 7 to 9 minutes, somewhere in there. But you can see how it can easily be incorporated into one of your existing appointments without adding too much chair time. If you, excuse me, if you have 45-minute hygiene appointments, you can easily have this in a separate area. We do it, do demos to where we actually just use an office chair. You don't need suction. If you have suction, you put it in your operatory. Certainly could do that, but not a necessary not necessary piece of equipment. So we simply turn it on for 2 minutes, do it again, and then I show the at-home product during that time to where it has the same preconditioning rinse that's in the in-office kit, but the pretty uniqueness, and we have a patent on utilizing the in-office, and we have a patent on this whitening serum. It's based on whitening varnish. So you're very familiar with fluoride varnish. Fluoride varnish sticks on for about 4 hours. We use a different type of rosin to where it'll stick on for about 20 to 30 minutes. So the patient will, at home, and they can start immediately when they get home, use a little bit of the rinse and apply this whitening serum on, and they could do that over the course of 3 days to get another 3 to 5 shades. So you get a nice boost in office. Your teeth aren't going to go from brown to white. Nothing should safely do that. But you should get a nice pop in office and then a nice further results at home, to where now if people have bad habits, they drink coffee, tea, to where they're going to stain over the course of their next 5-6 months. So if they get a combined 6 shades, nice brightness, they go back after having a lot of coffee for the first 4 months, they can utilize the at home as a maintenance, to where they don't have, it's not a rebound effect, but discoloration over the course of a few months. Then they come back in for their next hygiene recall appointment or perio maintenance and do another in-office treatment, and they could do the take-home as well, or they could just do the in-office, to where it really will help promote and build your hygiene department. I want to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, we'll actually call your practice people that registered to see if you have any additional questions. If you don't have any, we certainly appreciate your time, and we'll reach out to you. Hope you have a good afternoon.